Hi, this is Dee Dee Pfeiffer, and you're listening to the Don't Go Out There podcast with these awesome guys.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast. Just want to thank all of our fans and listeners. Really appreciate the support. You guys are awesome. Before we get into tonight's film review, just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Everything about our podcast is on the website. All of our episodes and interviews, if you want to check those out. We've done some incredible interviews in the past. Go check them out there in a specific tab by themselves so you don't have to scroll through hundreds of episodes on Apple or Spotify, etc. We also have our store if you want to grab a shirt, a mouse pad, a hat, all that good stuff. We'd love to see your pictures, rep your favorite podcast. And Shan's Etsy page is also attached if you want to grab a tumbler. All of our social media links are on there as well. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Like us, subscribe us, follow us, all that good stuff. And the last thing I want to shout out on our website is our Patreon. We call it Blood Donors. We have the traditional monthly reoccurring kind. If you want to support us, help us pay the bills, as we say. Or if there's a movie you want us to review, that option is available as well. Just check out our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Also, if you haven't noticed, we've recently joined the Believe Network. So there's some ads on our program now. But if you want ad-free content, go check us out on Blood Donors. The ad-free episodes will be available there. We appreciate your support. We hope you enjoy the episode.
All right, guys, let's get into the film review. This is my pick in Mike's September month. And I actually, Mike said this was kind of a throwaway theme, like ran out of ideas, but this is actually a good theme to me. Pick movies from this month. Hell yeah, brother. I had a lot of good movies from September. I think everybody did. I chose 2017's Mother, Darren Aronofsky, Jennifer Lawrence, Javier Botet, I think is his name. No, Javier Bardem. I'm thinking of the wrong guy. No Country for Old Men, movie we're going to do down the road. Ed Harris, Michelle Pfeiffer. This is a great movie to me. Mm-hmm. I think it's really good. The acting is phenomenal. It does something that I really like. It makes you think throughout, and when the film is over, you're like, damn, what did I just see? I totally understand if someone's not a fan of this movie because a lot of graphic stuff does happen at the end. A specific scene that's very traumatizing to a lot of ladies who I've seen comment on our post. I get it. But this movie makes you think, and I really appreciate movies that make me think. I'm a fan. Brian, you want to go next?
Yeah, and I'd actually never seen this before. I'd always been drawn to it because of the cast and knowing these people wouldn't be in a movie that was shit. But I never really have gotten around to it, honestly. I don't really have an opinion on Darren Aronofsky's work, just simply because I hadn't seen much. The only work of his that I had seen was I saw Black Swan a million years ago and honestly watched it for all the wrong reasons, so I need a rewatch on that one. But I didn't have any sort of predetermined opinions on him either way. And so I went into this one blind, my first watch through, and I was absolutely blown away. This allegory for really this kind of literal view of Christianity, which we'll definitely get into. But this whole thing reminded me of As Above, So Below. And that being an allegory for Dante's Inferno, that blew me away so much when we reviewed that. don'tgoouthere.com. This is the same thing. I absolutely loved this movie. There are some things that I've read that have been interpreted that I don't really either understand or can't wrap my head around or simply disagree with. But I think that's what makes this movie so great, in my opinion. And we'll definitely get into it.
All right. So I'd only seen this movie one other time. So it was good to kind of go back and rewatch it, honestly, just because I needed a rewatch. I needed to kind of wrap my head around, like you said, I need to wrap my head around what I was watching. I remember at the time this film getting a lot of flack for even existing. And at the time, and still now, we have a lot of people clamoring for original ideas, original horror. And then they shit on a movie like this that's trying to do something, to me, completely different. Now, obviously, it has some themes. You could even go Rosemary's Baby as far as the first 30, 40 minutes of the movie where you think it may be headed that kind of direction. It's got a little bit of that. Obviously, it's got the religion allegories. It's got the Mother Nature stuff. There's a lot smushed in here, but I will always tip my cap to someone who's trying to do something different. As much as I love Halloween and Scream and Friday the 13th and Freddy and all that, I mean, not every movie can be that in the horror community. And I think this movie was a little bit before its time. I mean, if you really look at it, what's the resurgence of horror really involved? Movies that make you think, elevated horror. You know, that became a term. I know. Okay, I'm just using the term other people use, okay? And with that, I think this movie was kind of the predecessor to what ends up being this quote-unquote smart horror. It is, like Nico said, makes you think, it's trying to say something. Now, does everything land with me? No. But I will always give it credit for trying to do something completely out of the box. So, like Dustin said before we started recording, I still don't know how the hell I feel about this film. Do I like it? Do I not like it? Am I somewhere in the middle? Like, I truly, maybe once I get through the review, I'll have my feelings. I have a rating, but it was really hard to rate a movie like this because it's well made, it's well shot, it's well written, but that doesn't mean I have to like everything that's written for me. So, very, very interesting film. I'm glad Nico picked it. I did understand it a little bit better this time around, but like we've had recently, I'm just a dumbass simpleton apparently because of having a hard time understanding all of the movies I've been seeing lately. So this is what you come here for, dumbassery that doesn't understand the movies he's watching. Go ahead, Dustin.
Mike, when you said I'm having a hard time, I thought you were about to shoot on and say I'm having a hard time holding these alligators down. But
woo! Sorry.
So Brian is going to love my analysis of this movie. I don't like it, but damn it, it's a good movie.
I think that's fair.
Drives me goddamn crazy.
So what I mean by that, though, is, number one, Darren Aronofsky has such a unique style in the way he makes all of his movies. I've seen Pi. I've seen this. I've seen Requiem for a Dream. I can't think of any others. I've seen
The Whale.
Oh, he did The Whale. Yeah, he did do The Whale. I've seen The Whale.
Black Swan.
You're right.
I like Black Swan. The Whale.
The man can make a damn movie.
What is The Whale about?
Brendan Fraser and
okay. I haven't seen
Crazy
it.
Beast Man.
Okay,
And then
A24 banger, hell of a movie.
Almost called Sadie Six, Sissy Spacek. You'll have to excuse me.
So this movie's original. It's unique. It's got a good story. It's just I don't ever want to watch this movie again. I watched it for the first time a couple months ago. Nico suggested it. I think I was in the midst of my A24 watch through, and he's like, "Hey, you should check out Mother. I think you'd like it." And while I do appreciate the suggestion, and I'm glad I watched it, and I can appreciate that it is a good movie, it's just the replay value not there for me. Yeah, I mean the cinematography is great. The camera work, man, like some of the cuts that we get, the transitions,
it's fantastic,
elite.
Yes.
It's obviously a very, very obvious religious allegory. My notes are chock full of that stuff. So
right.
If I don't want to talk about personal belief systems on the show and alienate any listeners, I have been open about my faith. You know, I'm Christian. I believe I subscribe to that belief. And so a lot of this stuff is like, yeah, okay, I've heard these stories. I know what this is saying. And I think that some of it's really good adaptations of that, of making, putting a modern twist on these classic stories that we've heard. There's some other stuff that's like, because of what I believe, that's not what I believe. That doesn't work for me. But overall, I mean, like I said, it's a really good movie. I just, thank God we're reviewing it now so I don't have to watch it again, because it's not an easy watch for me, man. I just don't enjoy it.
Right. Buddy.
No, I get that.
Ed Harris and Michelle Pfeiffer as Adam and Eve. Come on, man. You can't get any better than that.
I tweeted the other day that this movie and Uncut Gems are like the two most stressful first watches I've ever had.
Yeah.
So Uncut Gems, I definitely agree with. I would recommend going to watch Good Time with Robert Pattinson. That's the only movie that came close to that level of anxiety for me. But I could see it with this one, especially when shit goes chaotic in the house later in the movie, in the later acts. Yeah, that's crazy.
So, Dustin, you talked about your belief system, and some of this you agree with and some of it you don't. I'm with you on that. There's also, I want to go a step further. There are some stuff in here that I don't understand. And so I actually have interactive sessions to where I'm going to ask you guys what you think this means, because I don't know what it means, some of it. So
you know what that means, Brian?
A
Good conversation episode, baby.
Discussion episode.
Let's go. Let's get it done. By the way, if you looked up slow burn in an encyclopedia, there's a fucking picture of this movie next to it. This is the literal definition of slow burn, because it takes a long time to get to the chaos, but it's buddy, when the chaos hits, it fucking hits. And literally, it's there's burn allegories with fire and all that shit. So definitely a slow burn.
I don't know. I think that on the second watch, it's not as slow as you think it is. It's slow to get to where you can understand what's going on. That's first time.
That's more so what I mean. Yeah, sure.
I'm not saying this to be contrarian, but I don't even think it's a slow burn, because I feel the anxiety that Jennifer Lawrence feels from the get-go. Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck is she dealing with right now? Like, what is going on with these people?
I think you just means the slow part to get to the part where you're like, oh, okay, that's what the fuck's happening.
I mean, it is 2 hours, so I mean, I get it.
We even build to a little bit, and then we walk it back, and then we're building again. Like, man, it plays on your emotions for sure.
All right, I got almost 3,100 words, so let's start reading these bad boys.
Conversation episode.
The film starts with us seeing a woman on fire in title card. Him puts a crystal on display, and we see this burnt house being restored to normal. Mother gets out of bed and calls for him walking through the house. She turns around, jump scared by him. They share a few kisses as he says he needed to be outside to get the ideas flowing for his new book. He pulls away, saying he must think, and goes to shower. Mother is doing some housework and presses her hand to the wall, and she sees what I think is a beating heart. Mm-hmm. She makes him a big breakfast, and he says she didn't need to do all this, denying he's been working so hard. The two are in his study, and Him seems to be dealing with a bad case of writer's block until they hear a knock at the door. Him tells Mother to wait here. He lets Man inside, who tells them that he's an orthopedic surgeon. Mother feels awkward, and she offers to make tea, wondering what's going on with him and Man. Mother starts to feel bad suddenly and drops a teacup and grabs her belly. She collects herself and cleans up the broken glass. She brings the two men their tea, and Man offers her a shot of liquor, but Him says she's not a drinker. Man says he came to the house to get a room, and Him volunteers a room in their home for Man to stay. Man begins coughing as he goes outside to get the rest of his things. She expresses concern over him staying and tells Man no smoking in the house. She goes to get Man some bed linens and is scared by the wall thudding from within and the furnace turning on. She goes upstairs, hearing the men talking in his office, and smiles at him proudly. Him grabs the crystal, saying, "Be careful. It's delicate." Him says he found that in the ashes. It gave him hope. Then he found her, and it brought life back into every room. She tells him she's going to bed until Man begins coughing violently and Mother walks away. All right, Brian, that's the opening set of scenes. What do you think? A lot of pronouns in that.
Okay, so I'm not even going to hardly talk about the acting much. I mean, this really is just stocked full of Oscar winners, and that's for a reason. But this is the best performance that I've probably seen Jennifer Lawrence give. It's right up there with Passengers in that regard, where she is in, like, I believe, literally every single scene of that film and this film. I mean, she had to kill it, and she absolutely did. You can tell that she put everything she had into this performance. Apparently, she even took a year off of making movies after this because it was such a taxing shoot to her. And that shows right here on the screen. So we'll just get stuff out of the way and start really, I guess, talking about things, because obviously this is the type of movie that's hard to take notes on. But, okay, so Jennifer Lawrence is playing Mother Earth, or Gaia, I guess. And in my head, I've always considered Mother Earth this type of symbolic thing, not necessarily a being. And so her representation, I have the hardest time with. And she's the main character, so that kind of messes with me a little bit. I know Gaia was the Greek goddess of Earth, so to me, that's not really Mother Earth to me. But some of the roles that Aronofsky gives Mother Earth here is what throws me off some. Like Mother Earth's relationship with Javier Bardem's God. Like, that was admittedly hard for me to wrap my head around, honestly, because that's just not the way I look at it. I do love the symbolism of the home being Earth and his office being the Garden of Eden. At first I had that kind of backwards in my head, but and we're introduced to Mother's connection with the home and that symbolization of not only the woman being like, the heart of the home, but more the connection with Earth and the heart of the house / Earth being connected, being one with her as well. Also, I assume God's writing and his old hit and trying to figure out the new one is the Old and New Testament. Like I guess that's what I took it, which again took me some time to kind of put together since I always have associated man with writing those actual books. So it did take a little bit for me to do that.
Sure.
A lot going on here too with the great Ed Harris entering the fold, representing man. I guess the first man, Mike brought up Adam, which again, the writing is interesting where instead of God knowing Adam, he acts as though he just met him. And upon first viewing, you're wondering, okay, why is God, I don't know what else to call him, I guess, but why is he acting like he's hiding something from Mother? Which makes sense in retrospect because God created man to worship him above all else. So he wants man there. And he knows this Mother character will be jealous in a way, wanting him all to herself. But anyway, just great group of scenes. Obviously, the first time you watch it, you're just have no idea what the fuck's going on. But it does a good job of establishing everything, to play out.
So real quick before you go, Mike, because I will forget this. Brian, I took that as God created the planets first and then created man. And it's almost like God placed man on Earth without telling Earth. Like, think about all the other planets that don't have life.
Right.
And so it's like, well, here's your new visitors. Here's your new inhabitants. I didn't tell you about this before when I made you. So
good with that. It's I think giving Earth a soul, I guess, and for lack of a better words, is what throws me off. It's kind of weird when I'm trying to balance it in my head.
It didn't really hit for me either. Like, it was okay. Like, I get it, but I feel you.
I promise I have some actual analysis in here, but I did try to keep it light in my notes because, god damn, this is a heavy fucking movie, guys. I did like this feels like one of the, I don't know, like fourth movie in the last 6 months we've done where they shows the end at the beginning, like a shot of the ending at the beginning. Like, this feels like a very common thing that we keep running into. So I actually like it. I really do. Hey, man, come on, Dusty. You're not fully under the bus like that, buddy. I'm sorry. Look, I promised going forward on this show I would behave. But we're 3 minutes into the film, and we got J-Law's nipples. I mean, I really don't know what you want me to do as a man here. Okay? They're right there for everybody to see. I know some listener on Apple Podcasts is going to leave some review if Brian leaves that in, but I don't care. I had to point it out. All right. Anyway, sorry, got a little hot there. My bad. All right, I don't want to see yours. Thank you. I will say, just in the general sense of the acting part, I feel like Lawrence and Bardem make a little bit of a weird couple. Obviously, that doesn't really matter because that's not the point of the film. But it just on like the surface level, I'm like, oh, that's a little weird. Just knowing some of the other characters they both have played, I'm like, I would not match those two together in any other scenario ever. So just my 2 cents on that. And like 30% of this film is staring directly into Jennifer Lawrence's eyes. So when Nico talks about that anxiety, I feel that as well.
Yeah.
There's long gazing shots of just like us staring at her in the face. And it does create this sense of dread, this sense of anxiety. I think that's really well done. I think it's good.
And that's just that's Jennifer Lawrence's just acting ability too that does that for you.
Absolutely. And I actually had a question I put in my notes here. I had a feeling it'd be a conversation episode. Would you guys consider Ed Harris a character actor?
No, I don't know.
Or a little bit, maybe a step above. Like Will Patton? Like Will Patton, Ed Harris, or would you consider Ed Harris a little bit more above?
I think he's above, personally.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Have you seen Love Lies Bleeding?
No.
Have you seen Radio?
He's real good in Love Lies Bleeding.
Love Radio. I just cry every time when his mom dies. Anyway.
Man ate a beetle, for Pete's sake.
Chicken shit.
It is, you mentioned how she's Mother Earth, for lack of a better term, and he's God. And you could I think Jennifer Lawrence plays into it so well because every time she looks at him, it's with this intense love. This like when he's talking about his writing, the facial expressions that she gives him in this set of scenes is like that is some real love, real stuff. I think it's really good. also, on surface level, I know this man's a smoker, and I know the coughing represents something else. But just, again, on the surface level, if that man is coughing that bad in my house, I don't know what the smoking or not smoking, I got to get you out, man. And post-COVID, you can't be coughing all over my fucking house like that. You got to get out of here. That's all I have.
Jesus.
So it's a very interesting open with a woman burning and then the house transitioning in a time-lapse style shot. It'll grab your attention if nothing else.
Yeah.
Beautiful cinematography and sound design here when she's walking through the house and then on the front porch there. We really get the feeling that she loves him much more than he loves her in these opening scenes. And speaking of the dynamic there, you mentioned that you wouldn't put them together. Yeah, Anton and Katniss Everdeen together is an odd couple. But some people have pointed out the age difference, which two things there. Number one, it makes sense because depending on what you believe, again, I'm not starting an a belief discourse here, but God has been around much longer than the planets and everything. So that makes sense. But also, number two, he's the same age as Darren Aronofsky, and she went on to date him for a year after making this movie. So it's not that crazy. Crazier things have been done.
That bothers you, doesn't it?
You damn right it does. It should have been me. But
should have been me.
Should have been
standing there
me.
with you.
All right.
I know that was a Dolph Ziggler reference. Dustin, you can't fool me.
It was. Then Ed Harris just showing up randomly, and Mother gets all queasy in the kitchen. This one's bizarre so far. And Brian, you're right. Him writing, definitely like he's trying to write the New Testament, especially with what we get in the third act there is how I interpreted that. Him does his own thing and makes choices, and she just goes along with everything he says. Very defined roles between the two. That wasn't lost on me. It's an intriguing start. Like, I'm not sold on it, but I'm not put off by it either.
So, and maybe somebody else has this later. I don't want to spoil anyone's notes, but like this idea that whenever God brings in a new child of God, she gets sick, queasy, blurry, whatever, because she's not recreating what like that's, or at least that's what I took away from it. And I wanted to make sure I was right, so I looked it up. Some people say that. Some people think that's I'm reading too much into it. I don't know.
So I took it as like is just the more people are on the earth, the more the earth deteriorates.
That's yeah. We're saying the same thing. You just said it a hell of a lot better.
Whew, bear with me, guys. There's a lot here. Mother gets out of bed and walks through the house again. She sees man has been smoking inside and hears him vomiting. Him tells her he drank too much and give them some privacy. She hears the ringing again, seeing the floors turn black, and heads to the bathroom, short of breath. She gets some of her medicine and drinks it, collecting herself again. She sets the table for breakfast, and him kisses her, saying he couldn't sleep. Man had so many stories. I love his mind. Mother says she loves his work too and asks if he's feeling better. Man scares her and uses the stove to light a cigarette. Mother is confused and the doorbell rings. It's woman, man's wife. The two make out on the porch and she enters the house. Mother checks on the breakfast, which is now burning on the stove. Woman grabs the pan, dropping it on the floor. Mother takes them breakfast as man and woman talk about love at first sight and continue kissing until woman says kids ruined everything. Mother is caught off guard when him says they want kids, but she wants to finish working on the house and he wants to finish his next book, she thought. Him offers their house to them. They can stay as long as they want. She's upset he offered their house without asking, and he seems upset she asked about it. He walks off to go right, and she cleans up. She's working on the walls again, and woman brings her some lemonade. She asks for painkillers, and mother says she has none. Woman is surprised she did all this work on her own and asks for a tour. Woman thanks her for their hospitality, and the tour continues. She asks her why not just build a new home. Mother says it's his home, and she asks her why she doesn't have kids. She goes on saying, you won't be young forever, have kids. Mother is feeling very awkward and walks off, but chases after her as she tries to go into his office. The two men leave to go on a hike as mother takes woman to go do some laundry. Woman takes the clothes out of the washing machine, just throwing them on the floor, and calls mother out for her granny panties. Mother feels very awkward as woman keeps prying with sex questions. Woman thinks him may not be in love with her if he's not all over her all the time. Mother goes back upstairs and sees the giant mess woman made with a lemonade. She goes into the room man and woman are staying, finding a running faucet and bloody tissues. The toilet backs up and plunges it, seeing what I think is a heart stuck in the drain. She goes to poke it with a plunger until it squirts blood and flushes. All right, Brian, that's the next set of scenes. What do you think? I made it without stutter. Woo woo!
All right. So another thing I don't guess I fully understand is why man is sick. Like, is that symbolic of sin consuming man, or is there something else?
I think so, because in my mind, we picked up man and woman after the original sin had been committed, and one of the punishments for the sin was death.
Okay.
So.
Okay,
Also,
but I don't think so, because wasn't the original sin eating the apple, which was symbolic later on here about when they bust into the Garden of Eden and break that diamond? Like, isn't that the original sin? And then have sex after?
See, I think Darren's timeline is just off. I don't think he knows the Bible. I don't know, man. You're right. But also, sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to cut you off, buddy.
Oh, no, you're good.
Hadn't the kids already shown up when they busted the gym at Cain and Abel?
Think so. No, that was first.
No, yeah.
Well, then never mind. I was going to say, if they did, then that was also one of the punishments of sin was woman will bear child. I don't know. Maybe I'm off.
So when Ed Harris is throwing up there, is there not a wound?
Yeah, I've got that too. Yeah.
Okay, and then so Eve pops up, and we created Eve from the word.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure my mind's not completely all over the place.
Yeah. So biblically, man was bored and wanted a companion. So I guess I didn't fully understand Aronofsky's reasoning for making Ed Harris's character sick. Really, I guess so. I did like the touch of her finding the cigarette after she told him not to smoke in the house, i.e. man's real disregard for Earth, and then seeking them, throwing up and seeing the scar on his side, like you mentioned, representing God taking that rib from Adam. I thought that was an awesome detail. Upon subsequent viewings too, I mean, you really get to see the different instances and understanding the spells. She keeps having the real degradation of Earth kind of starts, now. I don't really understand what the medicine potion that she takes is supposed to represent, if anything. Go ahead.
So I didn't either, and I looked it up. So in alchemy, yellow is often associated with sulfur, which represents a transformative element, something that can either purify or destroy depending on how it's used. And it can also be used as a metaphor for like fertility. So that's why she kept doing the yellow, and when she got pregnant, she poured it down the potty. Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. Her throwing his lighter behind the nightstand so he can't find it, but man still finding a way to destroy himself via cigarettes and the world around him, and that symbolization, I thought that was very standout to me as well. And with the rib, God created woman, as Michelle fucking Pfeiffer shows up. Sorry for saying fucking in a God episode. But hey, listen to our interview with her sister at don'tgoouthere.com. But she just commands the screen when she shows up. And again, I don't really understand the hostility towards Mother unless it's just like the catty relationship between most women, whether it's jealousy or whatever. I just realized that Catwoman, Pfeiffer. Anyway, okay. Lawrence actually described Michelle Pfeiffer's work in the film as her best performance and revealed that she forgot her lines during one scene when Pfeiffer was walking towards her because she was so taken with the color of her eyes. Oof. Nice, but saying that was her best performance, apparently Lawrence has never seen Batman Returns. So anyway, I do love how Aronofsky made Pfeiffer, i.e. woman, kind of reckless, playing into that woman being tempted here, maybe more represented her by her recklessly grabbing that hot pan, to her day drinking, maybe an excuse for throwing off those inhibitions, some sin. Again, that's just my interpretation there. Something I really think is up for interpretation, though, is her coming in and not listening to Mother when she tells her not to enter the office or the Garden of Eden, the basement perhaps representing the underworld that she's not quite gotten to yet. Even giving Mother some doubt with the comment that obviously he still loves you in the not so subtle or not. And, seeding those thoughts of doubt. Now, the other thing I don't really get was the plunging here. Like, was that supposed to be the sickness of sin there, consuming man? Is that supposed to be like the sickness too, like Satan type of representative? I don't know. It looked like a fucking crab in there. So did you guys have any, what that is at all? What that was? A plunging?
I thought it was a heart because she kept seeing that heart in the house.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I don't. It looked like an animal. Like I don't. Anyway.
So brief.
Anyway, upon first viewing, 100% and is 100% not satisfying in literally anything because you still have no idea what's going on. But the second one, chef's kiss.
Yeah, man. I mentioned, and you mentioned the rib with Eve and all that stuff. So I don't have to go back over that. But I did think that was very well done, very well written. As soon as that happens, here comes Michelle Pfeiffer and her character. I will say, it is really an interesting choice, at least on the surface level, to make your stand-in characters for Adam and Eve, which, by the way, I think that, I guess that's fair. It's been a very long time since I've read the Bible, so you have to forgive me. To make Adam and Eve pretty unlikable characters. These two are not, or at least the way I perceived it, I'm like, man, we all just leave this freaking woman alone, man. But I thought it was interesting. And again, while it's a slow burn, does crank up that anxiety that we touched on so far. There's a lot of angst there. I will say, well, like I said, making your stand-ins for Adam and Eve drunks was also a choice. That's a choice that you did make there. Again, I really like the set of scenes. I think they do a good job of layering in the stuff that Brian talked about, but also as far as just if you didn't know any of that, and I have a feeling we're going to have some listeners that maybe don't know any of that. I think they do a good enough job keeping tension between him, Adam and Eve, and then Mother. I think there's a good enough job, just a surface level writing, keeping this weird, awkward tension. Like, dang, why is everybody ganging up on Jennifer Lawrence like this, brother? Like, it's definitely written that way, I think. Yeah, that's all I had.
Before Eve shows up, woman shows up, we see man's blatant disrespect for Mother's home when he lit the cigarette inside again, invited a guest, kind of like how, mankind treats the earth. Right. And then you can see him's amusement with man. Even in our faults, God is amused, enamored with us. The scenes with woman and mother were interesting, seeing how they interact, and the subtext was well done, as was the camera shots here. Just the way that they're shot was phenomenal. Woman and man were written so well as characters. They're perfect examples of how humans take over their surroundings and make everything about them. They're so nosy and messy. Perfect. And then that thing in the toilet, that was freaky. Great subtle shock. I don't know what it was.
Wild.
I've seen some pretty bizarre stuff in the toilet after a night at Taco Bell, but that was crazy.
Oh my God.
I wish I could have made it to your toilet, brother.
Yeah, same. But yeah.
Open the fucking door, asshole.
Anyway, I don't really know why. I don't know how to explain why, but I like it so far. I like the movie so far.
She goes back into the room, bumping his duffel bag again. She goes through it, finding a picture of her husband in it. Woman goes into his study, and she confronts her. She's amazed by the crystal and is upset she has to leave the room. The guys make it back, and man is coughing violently again. Mother tells him the sink isn't braced as he leans on it. She tells him she saw a picture in his luggage. Him tells her he's dying until they hear her shatter. They see the crystal is broken and snaps on them, pointing them out the room. He apologizes to Mother for screaming and asks for a moment. The two apologize, and Mother says it's best they leave. She sees him clenching the broken glass in his hands, bleeding as he asks her to leave. Mother sees the couple begin to get intimate. The floors turn black again, and she takes more of her pea-looking medicine. She knocks on the office door, and him exits. She notices everything covered in sheets. He breaks the handle and heads upstairs. Mother takes all the clothes out the washing machine and sees him boarding up the office, asking what he's doing. Mother says she's kicking them out. He asks, where will they go? Woman ignores her, telling them they have to leave, and goes to check on her husband. Knock at the door, and younger brother enters, asking who Mother is. Family drama pops off as older brother enters the room. The two sons argue over the will, and Mother watches in shock. Older brother is going off, and him pushes him to the wall, asking him to calm down. The two brothers fight now, and Mother is the only one trying to stop them. Older brother clubs younger brother in the back of the head with a doorknob twice, killing him, pushing her away. Him grabs older brother from Mother, slamming him into the mantel, and asks her to get towels and the doctor. Mother begs him to stay with her as they leave to take him to the hospital. The three disappear as we get a beautiful shot of the home. She sees a fly die while washing her hands and then begins cleaning up the blood from younger brother. She hears a rumbling in the walls, and they turn black, and we see the heart again. She comes to and sees an odd spot on the floor. She touches it, seeing through the hole into the basement. She turns the light on. It's full of blood and explodes. The blood runs on the wall, and she uses a wrench to break the walls down. Shout out to Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
She hears glass break upstairs and heads towards it. All right, Brian's next set of scenes. What do you think?
I love that. So something else you really notice in this is the lack of musical score. You know, according to IndieWire, Johan Johnson wrote the original score for this movie before it was replaced at Aronofsky's behest, which I would agree with that. Like, it makes this movie so much more impactful not having that traditional score, in my opinion. And so this group of scenes on my first watch through was really when I remember saying, okay, like, this is not literal here. And really started trying to look for stuff as more symbolic. I remember thinking, is Mother dreaming this? Like, what else is going on beyond what I'm seeing on film? Obviously, I didn't figure it out, like, till it was spoon fed to me at the end, because admittedly, I did start trying to look more into it here, though, in this set of scenes, simply because the performances of Javier and really everyone else made me think, like, maybe she has amnesia, because everyone else seems to be hiding something and knowing stuff that she doesn't know and treating her like a child to be taken advantage of and really used. Obviously, that makes way more sense on your second watch through. Again, you know, more symbolism with Adam and Eve, i.e. man and women sneaking into the Garden of Eden after being told to stay out, i.e. the office, and breaking the crystal, i.e. the apple, or in this cycle of representation, you know, also the heart of the previous Mother Earth, which gave birth to everything. And then God boarding it up after he, quote, cast the two out, but also being forgiving and allowing them to stay. After Mother walks in on man and woman having sex, you get the next representation of her really having another spell and degrading a little further. But when she walks back and confronts them, Pfeiffer answers the door in a bra with a clear leaf pattern to it. Pretty obvious detail, Easter egg to represent Adam and Eve covering themselves up after eating that forbidden fruit. Then we get the two sons showing up, i.e., you know, Cain and Abel, played in real life by brothers Brian and Domhnall Gleeson. We just saw Domhnall in last month's review of Ex Machina, don'tgooutthere.com. Now, Brian is making his first appearance on the show, but he's great in Assassin's Creed. I think that came out a year before this one, actually. But anyway, Domhnall shines the most because it gets the most. But this whole thing is just, it's brilliantly written. Symbolism all the way up through their fight and Cain killing Abel. Now, what's the representation with the hole from the blood and how it's rotting the wood and leading down to the basement? Is that like the fall of man after the murder? Is that like corrosive stain of human violence that just can't be wiped away? That one I'm not really sure about.
It's a symbol for sin. Because that
okay,
that
all right.
I have it in my notes, so I'll go and say it now. So that spot is where.
Is it like dripping? Is it like dripping into the underworld? Is it like dripping into hole, like opening a hole to hell, almost sort of?
You know, I didn't go that far into it, but that makes a lot of sense. I'll subscribe to that. So it's like that spot is where Cain killed Abel, and no matter how much she tries to cover it up, like the sin's always going to be there.
Okay.
So,
I'm gonna leave out a few of these, you know, religious overtone notes because I think Brian and Dustin are more the experts. But you know, I have some left in here. Obviously, you get the Cain and Abel stuff here, the Garden of Eden, forbidden fruit, all that stuff. So I'll just leave my surface level stuff for now, unless I see something I want to comment on. By the way, this man's a doctor, and he's just coughing up a storm. So again, on a surface level, get this man out of my house, man. I can't stand this motherfucker.
hey, he's an orthopedic surgeon.
Again, I need him to take care of himself, brother. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking that much.
It's really bothering Mike.
Yeah, man, I can't help it. Then Adam and Eve getting busy at a time like this after breaking the stuff. Brother, that's a bad time. That is worse timing than doing it in the kitchen when the kids walk in. That's all I'm saying.
The same
you
level.
gotta get it in when you gotta get it. It's not the same level.
That's not. Tough,
it's okay. It's all right to risk it for the biscuit.
It's not.
So, Brian, you mentioned it's fine. Nobody was harmed in the making of the film. You mentioned like it does mother have amnesia? Is she like dreaming or whatever? The movie is shot in a way where it's almost like Shutter Island, where everyone kind of treats her like Andrew Latis, like I know something you don't know, and like is almost scared by it. Like it's like this weird tension, and that's what I kept relating it back to.
That's a good.
And I think they do a good job. So, like I said, you have all this. I wouldn't even call it subtext. It's just the text
Right.
of the religious allegory, but it is shot in a way where if you didn't know that, I think they do a good enough job. Like, what's going on here? Who's hiding what? Who the hell are these people in her house? Because after that, here comes two sons, obviously stand-ins for Cain and Abel. Cain kills Abel. But all I know is if I'm mother, I'm uppercutting everybody and getting them the fuck out of my house. A room full of uppercuts. Can't keep coming in my house. I'm trying to build this house, get a good paint job on it. You're ruining everything. I hate everybody. That's all I'm saying. I hate these ungrateful tenants that are trying to treat this house like they're squatters. I don't like it. That makes a bad day for me. But like you said, really great scene here. It is so tense. Jennifer Lawrence does such a great job reacting to this family squabble, if you want to call it that, for lack of a better term. And I just think she really carries a set of scenes. You know, her not screaming, but her like ability to like look really, really shaken up by the whole experience, I think is really well done. And this is when we finally start to get some remnants of what I would consider to be a horror film, if you will, with this blood, the dripping blood. You mentioned it representing sin, things like that. Like now we're kind of getting ramped up just a little bit, at least.
Yeah, a woman being upstairs when she was told not to goes right along with what I said about human nature, just no regard for the rules. And they went and broke his precious gem, which is, it's a pretty good metaphor in itself. Pressure and heat make diamonds. We saw the woman die in the open, and then we see it in the end there. So it's like that's the remnants. So I like that. It's this precious gem. All he has left of the previous world. So again, it's all a cycle. Very intense when him squeezed the shards of gem and cut his hands. Like you could tell how much he valued and cherished that, and man's just destroying his creation. And then just like human nature, they messed up. They were asked to leave, but no regard for anyone else. They fuck. Like humans are horny. Like Brian said, get it in when you can, I guess. I like how the house starts to change as mother is walking away. Shows the effects that people have on their surroundings and the world in general. The disrespect when mother tells a woman that they want them gone is more good stuff with human nature. Just great dynamic there. Then when Cain and Abel show up, it's a good representation of that story. That's not their names in the movie, but that's what I'm calling them. I like how that was done. They do a great job at showing how connected Mother Earth and the house, a.k.a. Mother Earth and the Earth itself, are. One heartbeat, one band, one sound. That's from Drumline, Nico. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know if y'all have this fun fact or not, but it was her idea to be barefoot the whole movie too, so she could be connected to the house the entire time. Yeah. I thought that was a nice touch as well.
So I had that one, and I was going to say, and I'll say it now, the Foot Bros are going to love this movie. Jennifer Lawrence shoeless the whole movie. The Foot Clan is going to be howling at the screen. Go ahead.
Quentin Tarantino gave it 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Anywho, she sees a door open.
Acting. I know that. Anyway.
Oh, here we go. Here we fucking
got
go.
him started.
She sees a door open, then hears glass crunching. She finds the picture of her husband torn into 4 quadrants. An older brother appears questioning why she was left alone. He turns around, grabs his wallet, and leaves, wishing her good luck. Mother calls 911 until him appears. He consoles her and gets her some water. Him tells her the boy died with his hand in his hand. Him says he's exhausted and asks if she'll come take a hot shower. Mother goes to check out the spot in the floor and puts a rug over it. She goes upstairs, finding him slumped. She wakes up hearing the door open. She sees several people enter, and him tells her he told them to invite some friends and family. Him consoles them, and Mother tells woman she's so sorry, but she brushes it off, walking away. Him speaks to the group, and Mother is taken aback by some of the things he says. Doorbell rings again, and Mother answers. More people arrive for the eulogy, and she's in shock of what's going on. Woman has a toast to him for his kindness while hosting them. Man cries, speaking on his son, and asks Mother to say something about his son. She's at a loss, and more people enter the house. She asks a lady to get off the unbraced sink and cleans up more glass. A man hugs her out of nowhere, and chaos ensues. Woman continues about her not having children and questioning her and says to go put on something decent. Mother tells a couple to get out of their room, and she is clearly stressed seeing the floors turn black again. She takes more pea-colored medicine as a man enters the bathroom exploring. She gets dressed and asks another couple to go downstairs. Mother notices fresh paint on the walls, questioning a man and a woman why they're doing it, and tells them to stop. She asks about all the people and tries to clean up a spilled drink. She tells more people to get off the sink, and a random guy asks her if she wants to go on a walk and tells her to take his number. The man keeps pestering her, calling her an arrogant cunt, and then the sink breaks off the wall. Water pipe is busted and sprays everywhere. She snaps, yelling for everyone to get out, and him says he'll fix it. All right, Bryson, next set of scenes, what do you think?
Okay, so the biggest thing about this was all the family coming to visit. And I mean, I get it, or at least I take it as humanity beginning to pour onto the earth and their destructive ways and habits. And I mean, in the context of things here, I don't really understand the others coming because of a death, though. I guess it's just one of those things that's like, it's hard for me to wrap my head around because of it symbolizing time passing with all the generations pouring in. But why would they all be coming for a funeral if they're generations of a family? I don't know. That's just one of those things that I guess I just didn't really understand because it's not linear and it really fucks my head up.
So I think the way I didn't take that as directly tied to a biblical story. I think that was just a device that he used to get to a point to where there's more people in the house. But yeah, I agree. I didn't see a connection there either.
It's just one of those things that I didn't really understand, but I do understand the chaos and the furthering of the stress on Mother, the people sitting on the sink, her warning them, the disrespect of the house, like we've talked about, with people wanting to just invade privacy, invade rooms to explore, to fuck, painting the house. It's escalating and escalating until the pipe bursts, i.e. the great Noah's flood. Like you can even hear the people mutter, "We are being punished," as they're leaving the house, which I didn't notice until the second time I watched this and had the subtitles on. But Aronofsky definitely wanted to drive that point home for sure. Like that was symbolic of the flood and the Great Reset. The tension is great in the set of scenes. Lawrence does an amazing job, coupled with the camera work from Aronofsky, really extenuates the stress that you're supposed to feel. Fantastic.
Look, the frog hopping out right there would have made me empty my bowels. With how tense everything was, to go from somebody dying on my kitchen floor, and then, no, man, too much bullshit going on, probably would have shit all over the place. So anyway, again, trying to just keep it stupid simple. It's hard to feel bad for this family because I think they've made all these stand-ins pretty damn unlikable, at least from the viewer's perspective. When Abel, it's not his name, when Abel dies, and they have this like funeral-ish thing, I'm like, man, get out of my house. I don't care about your dead son, that you are all still somehow, some way in my fucking house. And I don't know why. Like, I'm just viewing this from Mother's perspective. Like, I would have been slapping the hell out of everybody, man. I don't care. And the way they make her feel, and again, we know that him is God, but like out of context, it is super weird for him to be giving this deep sermon at a quote unquote stranger's funeral. Like super weird, out of context to me. Just inviting all these people over to a house that isn't theirs. Fucking house party too. What are we doing, man? Dude, just that made me so mad. This bulk of 3 sets of scenes made me so mad because people just keep coming into my fucking house. Like, I can't stand that shit.
Tell Mother Earth has to feel.
Exactly. I think that's kind of the point, is it not? There's also nothing worse than being put on the spot to say something at someone's funeral like this without having nothing to say. Like, if I'm her, I'm like, I didn't know this motherfucker. I ain't saying shit about him, man. I don't know your son like that. Anyway, I did like the comment of put on something decent when we know damn well she was just answering the door in a bra with a leave, just fucking like that was clearly what, I mean, I'm just saying, man, that was clearly a dig there. Anyway, and also to revert that, anything that Jennifer Lawrence wears is decent, brother. It doesn't matter how much is there. Last thing, I just don't have strong enough words for how much I fucking hate every single person in this house except Mother. That's all I got. Go ahead.
It's pretty creepy and tense when she's at the home alone. Like she's wandering through the house, finding secret tunnels, and then a murderous stranger shows back up. When him wants to take a shower and Mother says she'll be up in a minute, she pulls a rug over the hole in the floor. Is that what sinkholes are? Like, is it Mother Earth just pulling some grass over a hole and to deal with it later? Is that what sinkholes are in the real world? Then all these motherfuckers just show up in her home unannounced, and just take over, make the place their own home, wreck shit with no regard. Perfect symbolism. I mean, perfect. I know that her character is written to be symbolic of the Earth, unable to really do anything, just absorb. But Buddy deserved a slap in the face when he called her an arrogant cunt, and then the two dipshits broke the sink. Like, they'd catch hands. I don't really have much else I don't have anything else other than what you guys have already said. And this is going to be a long episode as is, so I'll just throw it back to you, Nico.
I said I had to cut all my religious notes, man. I'm tired, boss.
Mother turns the water off and goes back upstairs seeing the mess. She begins cleaning up and him tells her they're gone. And after doing these notes, I kind of wish I would have just wrote the actor's name because saying him, man, and her gets kind of confusing.
It does.
She's very mad at him. He abandoned her and questions him being there for her. The two begin to argue and say some mean things until suddenly he's got her pressed to the wall, kissing her neck, and she's liking it. Hell yeah, brother. I don't know how that just happened, but I respected it. She wakes up saying she's pregnant. She tells him she's pregnant. We're going to have a baby. He asks, how could she know? The news hits him and he begins to smile. That's the most beautiful gift until his face changes and he springs out of bed. He grabs paper and frantically looks for a pen. He's inspired and begins writing. She says she'll leave him alone and begin on the apocalypse. He tells her he loves her and she walks away, flushing the medicine down the toilet. Mother gets the baby's room set up and she runs to him saying the baby moved, finding him looking out the door. He says he finished it. She asks to read it and sits down on the stairs. We see him looking at the burned down house and property, holding a woman's hand and the property being restored to life. She tells him it's beautiful. She cries, saying it's a lot. It's perfect, she tells him. She asks if she's going to lose him. Never, he tells her. The phone rings and him tells her they loved it. Mother is shocked the publisher has read it already. She sees a blood stain on the carpet in the baby's room, but the spot in the floor is gone. She showers and freshens up, then prepares the dinner table. The two are dressed up and he tells her he's helping. She hears a noise and a man scares her at the window. She runs back to the dining room and sees him on the porch talking to the press. He asks her to keep everything warm and he'll be back in, going back to the press to answer questions. All right, Brian, that's the next set of scenes. What do you think?
Okay, so this set of scenes is where the symbolism loses me just a bit. Like, I get the aftermath of the flood and cleaning up, but this further causes tension between Mother and him. And so me not having anything to relate their relationship to, like, it does make that harder. And that gets even harder when she gets pregnant. I mean, this is Mother Earth, or I guess Gaia, and I guess it's the symbolism of the Virgin Mary. So you see, if I'm trying to relate this stuff to Christian religion, which he's hit so hard beat for beat, when it's combined like that, which is me assuming that's what he's doing here, it throws me off a little bit. Like, it's also a little confusing that God seems super happy about the pregnancy, because if this is supposedly cycle after cycle with only him being aware of the previous cycles, wouldn't he know what's in store? But again, like, that is a trait that we hope God has, which is being hopeful things will turn out different every time. Also, again, confused with the throwing away of the potion, which I still don't understand what it represents. I wrote that before Dustin eloquently told me what that meant earlier. Something we don't really have to question, though, is his new writing being the New Testament and the baby being representative of Jesus. The end of this set of scenes to me is really where the movie starts to just go warp speed, like Mike was talking about at the beginning.
The end of this set of scenes, the end of the last one, I didn't abandon, or you abandoned me because I didn't abandon you. No, motherfucker, you did abandon Mother. You abandoned the hell out of her. Anyway, that's all I gotta say. I did find it really, really odd here that they choose right now after this big brouhaha where someone breaks her sink and everything goes to hell. This is when they decide to have sex. I mean, I know people can be toxic, but I'm just saying this is like Spears and Federline. That's a dated reference for you whippersnappers right there. Not you. You're old. I'm just saying. I will say, after all the BS that they've gone through, this is a really touching moment in a movie that doesn't really require it, between mother and him, where they look at each other and it looks like love. They finally, she's pregnant, so they're finally doing they're recreating, which was kind of the whole point of this. Up to this point is to find a reason, get her to recreate. And I thought, hey man, that's really touching. I thought the way they looked at each other was like almost like a romantic moment, which I just wasn't expecting from this film. And then there's flaccid dick on my screen that I didn't need to see. Never needed to see that shit. Anyway, but my man is riding naked. And I can relate to this. Because sometimes I get up early and I forgot to write my workout down the night before. And, buddy, I just got to write it down real quick. And I do that before I put clothes on. Anyway, like Brian said, though, this is where the movie gets not confusing, but some of the symbolism gets confusing for me. I'm not an expert in theology or anything like that, so I'm not going to pretend that I am. Where I'm like, this is really good, and this is really interesting, but I'm confused a little bit. Now, I get like he is God. I shouldn't say stand in for God. He's God, and all these people are now following him and stuff like that, but it just feels like we got them close, just like on the surface level. Now they're kind of lovey-dovey, and then this happens. Like, I don't know. Like, it has me interested, but it's not lost. I'm just confused, I guess, by some of the symbolism. Hard to explain my feelings there.
Yeah, I got hardly any notes on this set of scenes. First of all, the scene on the stairs is uncomfortable if you think about who their characters symbolize. This is God.
Right.
And this is Earth. But it also gives a whole new meaning to the phrase "fuck the world."
Wow.
So,
that was a good one.
So when she gets pregnant, he gets his urge to write again. And yeah, this is the inspiration for the New Testament, I guess. Very interesting take. Like you said, Brian, like if this is meant to be a, pretty straightforward adaptation of the story of, the Bible and what we believe as Christians, there's some questionable decisions made as far as God's reaction and God's behavior towards it. So I don't know. And then, of course, all the people show back up. I don't know, man. This is hard to take notes on, but I kind of like it, I think. I don't know. Go ahead.
There it is.
Man, that was my stand, too. I'm like, don't quite know what I'm looking at, but I'm intrigued. Like, no one knows what it means, but it's provocative, gets people going is literally how I felt.
There you go. Mother goes back inside the house and paces around. She finds the bloody spot in the floor, and the noise is deafening outside. Him is signing autographs, and there's way more press. She questions why her and the baby aren't enough for him. She goes back inside and sees people walking around. She leads a mother and son to the bathroom, but there's already a line of people waiting to use it. She finds a spot in the floor, and people are taking pictures of it. A man lies down to sleep. The poet says it's everyone's house. More people flood into the home, saying the poet said they could eat. Him begins signing autographs as the publicist kisses them both. She confesses she was worried he wouldn't write anymore alone with her. Mother chases after a woman who steals a book, and all the people begin to take things from the home. She yells, "This doesn't belong to you." She calls 911, but a woman takes the phone from her to make a call, but then another person steals the phone. Him is meeting with his fans, marking their heads. She tells him they're ruining everything. He says they're just things. They can be replaced. She's overwhelmed and goes upstairs. She sees even more people show up outside, and the walls turn black again. She sees the heart turn black as well. Mother walks amongst the house, and the crowd of people have gotten uncontrollable as a rave begins. People steal her baby crib, and she falls over with another hole in the floor forming. More stealing, vandalizing, and people get into the house. She tries to leave, and he stops her. He notices she's going into labor and leaves her to make space. Police arrive, and they spray him in the eyes, and she's hit as well. She flushes her eyes with a broken faucet, and shots begin to fire. Mother gets to a locked area with women begging for her help. A man grabs her from behind, groping her, but lets her go. All hell has broken loose with the police and partygoers. Mother sees the publicist mass executing people as an explosion hits the house. More police invade as her labor pains intensify. A cop sees her in her pregnant state and gets her to a safe area until he's shot in the face. She begins calling through the ashes, and him finds her. A group of people see the poet yelling he hasn't forsaken us as he leads Mother through the crowd. He tells the crowd to get back, he will return. A doctor emerges and helps her give birth until him returns and they lock themselves in the office. All right, Bryce, the next set of scenes, what do you think?
Okay, so this is without a doubt the most impactful, powerful, disgusting, all the words are these last 30 minutes. I mean, we see mankind and its progression over the ages with the way that they interpret his words, i.e., the Bible, and the way that it escalates and destroys the house of earth and the people destroy themselves. Who is Kristen Wiig representing, though? Like, is it supposed to be... I put some examples, but I want to know what you guys think. Like, who is she supposed to be?
I got nothing. I just thought she was just another annoying human.
I put was she like the kings over the years that have changed and misrepresented the Bible? I was genuinely curious about that too. Yeah. Is it the false representation? Because her killing all of those prisoners definitely had me like, whoa, she's not a good person. But anyway, but wow, just the chaos, the fighting, the wars, everything shot so incredibly well. The effects by Peter Chesney's team, the same Peter Chesney who worked on No Country for Old Men, also with Bardem, and Men in Black, groundbreaking effects there. The effects here are just amazing. Also, a full prosthetic replica of the riot police officer's head was actually created for that scene where his jaw is blown off by a shotgun. Spoiler alert, my favorite kill in the movie. Just crazy grouper scenes setting up for an even more intense ending.
Again, I am just begging. Listen, the rest of humankind or Dinner with Jennifer Lawrence. Rest of humankind, Dinner with Jennifer. This is an easy choice.
That's the new $500,000 or Dinner with Jay-Z.
Yeah, come on, what are we doing? Taking the dinner with Jennifer Lawrence. Come on, man. Again. I know what these people stand for, but God, they piss me off getting in my whole we've already got. I thought we got past having all these unwanted guests in my house, and now here they are, fucking invasion. It made me so mad. I will say, if anyone screams snobby publisher more than Kristen Wiig, I don't know who does.
No, she's great.
She was so good here, and I was almost expecting just a little bit more comedy from her. A very unusual role for her. I thought she was great. She just perfect snobby publisher, in my opinion. And look, we're finally getting not slow. Maybe I misspoke when I said slow burn. I would still call it that, but we are really ramping up here, man. We're taking 0 to 100 quick. As she's pregnant and all this chaos is happening around her. I think Lawrence is so effective in this set of scenes. Her not even so much that she's scared in this set of scenes. She's pissed. She's vengeful in a way. She wants to get back at these people. So she's finally acting how I would have acted, which is trying to get these people out of her fucking house. She's finally taken my side, which I can appreciate. But her acting is great. It's this anxiety, this stress, all this chaos is horrifying in its own way. Made me feel very uneasy. And then we ended on shooting someone in the head. So was not expecting a gun in this film. Got to be honest.
Yeah. Right here is where I had the part about the hole in the floor. I wasn't sure what the spot representative, but it makes sense. That's where the sin was. She's trying to cover it up. It's always there. Anyway, this movie gets really anxiety-inducing here for me. Hundreds of people in the house trying to get close to him and take things that are his, all while ignoring Mother. The noise and the camera work are very effective. I hated it. It was awesome.
Jesus Christ.
When she puts her hand on the wall and we see the heart turning black, perfect representation of humans' impact and causing decay. We see Kristen Wiig for 3 seconds. Like you said, that was really random. They could have cast anyone for Peanuts. I'm sure she didn't take much for that role, but I don't know. That was weird.
She was effective. I don't know, man. I want to see a whole movie based around a snobby publisher played by Kristen Wiig.
Well, I read that she was a last minute cast and that she just wanted to work with Darren. So, she might not have taken much.
I can respect that.
But like, if you're Kristen Wiig, you want to work with Darren Aronofsky, and like that's the role you get. I don't know. It was just, I get it. She was effective. I love her, but it didn't sway me. I didn't love her role in this movie. Like, it could have been anyone. Anyway, this movie breaks down into pure chaos here. Their world was so pure and calm, and now look what people have done to it. There's war, famine, people thinking God has forsaken them. Just more great symbolism. And I'm ready for the finish.
And here we are. And I wrote a lot. Insert Kurt Angle gif. Heavy breathing. Our baby's coming, he says, as a door breaks in and mother screams in agony. She screams again and the screen turns white. It's a boy, he says. He holds the child and hands him to her. She smiles and he brings her a blanket. She asks why they're so quiet and he opens the door. He returns with more gifts and clean clothes. She asks if they're leaving. He tells her they want to see him and she says no, make them go. I don't want them to go, he says to her sternly. She refuses to let him hold the baby. He's angered and walks away. He pushes a chair closer to her and sits down. She removes her shirt to breastfeed and wakes up. She begs him to please make them go as he sternly watches her. She nods off and the baby is gone. Him is presenting the baby to the crowd and she runs to him, but the baby is being passed around the crowd. She fights through the crowd trying to get to her son. Suddenly we see the baby's head snap back and mother gets to a priest who says he's not dead. His voice still speaks strong. She finds the baby's mutilated corpse and people eating his flesh. She snaps and begins stabbing and slashing people with broken glass. She's hit with a broken door handle by the priest figure, and the crowd turns on her, attacking her. Him finally makes it to her, stopping them. He grabs her and asks them what they are doing. She cries out saying, "You killed him. You killed our baby." He says, "We can't let him die for nothing." He says, "We must find a way to forgive them." She calls him insane, and he says, "They are sorry. We need to forgive them." She sees the floors turn black and yells no. The floors crack, calling them all murderers. She scratches his face and yells for them to get out. She finds a lighter and stumbles down the basement stairs. She breaks open the tank from below and she tells him, "You never loved me. You only loved how much I loved you," and ignites the place on fire. It burns the house and all the people up in an explosion. We see the same shot of a woman on fire and the screen turns white. Him is unscathed and holds her in his arms. "What are you?" she asks. "I am I. You were home." She asks where he's taking her. He says, "To the beginning. It won't hurt much longer." She says, "What hurts me is the most is I wasn't enough. Nothing is ever enough. I couldn't create it if it was. That's what I am. Now I must try it all again." He asks for her love. She says, "Go ahead and take it." He rips into her chest and pulls out her heart. Inside it is another crystal and he puts it on display. He laughs and everything around him begins to restore to normal. Another woman awakes calling for him as the film ends. Brian, hell of a lot happened. What'd you think?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said earlier, just what a powerful set of scenes right here. I mean, the symbolism of Jesus and then obviously him being crucified or killed. The people eating the parts of the baby were fucking disgusting. Like, I don't think we needed that literal symbolism of the Christian communion. That is what I meant. Jesus Christ. Bad choice of words there because it really was Jesus Christ. But, using bread and wine as a symbol for Jesus's body and blood, freaking just gross scene. The whole set of scenes really just serves as such an eye-opening for the whole movie. I mean, this is really where you go, oh, well, that's what all this means. And holy shit at the performance of Jennifer Lawrence. Here, she apparently got so into her character that during these climactic scenes, she started hyperventilating, even cracked a rib. And, I mean, when you think of Lawrence and nudity she's done, like, we can point to Red Sparrow and No Hard Feelings, but at this point in her career, you may forget that she avoided any nudity, and it was her choice here in this movie, not Aronofsky's, to do it here. Like she said, quote, "Darren showed me the footage, which revealed her bra underneath, and I'm like, well, that's not violating enough. So I took my bra off. So that was kind of a moment for me. I was like, my boob's out, I'm on set. But up until that point, I'd never really done anything that sexual. So I think that was a huge step in her accepting that Red Sparrow role a year later as her next movie after this. Another fun fact here, man's lighter bears a window horn, a symbol believed to represent the cooperation between nature's eternal laws working in effect and in accordance with each other. This same lighter is what Mother uses to destroy the house with the oil and kill everybody inside, which in itself is how Revelation says Earth will be destroyed in the end times, this time with fire. And whether you believe in one true God or not, like, we don't truly know his motivation for creation or any of that. Here, it's implied that it's Mother's love for him that gives him the power to create again and the cycle again. So you really couldn't have asked for a more powerful ending, in my opinion.
Look, this is, first of all, like the first set of scenes that didn't have 30 people up in my fucking house, so that's good. Just kidding. Of course it did. I'm not going to waste your time. This breaks down into absolute chaos and quite possibly top 3 worst ending I've ever seen on a movie we've reviewed. Like, buddy, and I get it, okay? But, man, look, Jennifer Lawrence is great here. Honestly, I think so is Javier Bardem. Like, I think they're both fantastic in this scene where they're just talking back and forth and staring at each other. She kind of loses it. And then I love the way that Darren shoots this here. He's got the camera focused on Lawrence, waiting on her to fall asleep, and you know it's coming. And you can't do anything to stop it as a viewer. You know she's going to fall asleep. As soon as she closes her eyes, that baby is coming with him, and you just know it's going to happen, and there's nothing you can do about it. Then it happens. And we get maybe the grossest thing I've ever, like, just as far as the extreme that it goes to, we see the mangled baby. Like, just, oh, God, man, it got me. It was weird, confusing, disgusting, shocking, all those things. Can't say I was a fan of that. I'm not going to lie to you. And even I have a little bit of a stopping point there. Like, that's, how I kind of respect Michael Myers for not killing dogs. I'm like, dogs and babies. Like, we don't have to go that far, buddy. We did. That was tough. Again, I think that J Law is good here. And the ending is good, confusing, but good. Like, just very weird, very good, very weird, very bad, question mark. Like, I don't know how to feel. And we talked it through. We had an hour and 15-minute therapy session about this film, and I'm still a little uncertain if I like it or not.
Mike, when you said very good, I thought of Danhausen. Very good, very evil.
Yeah.
That's
very Jimmy Hero. Oh, sorry.
Very niche wrestling reference. But intense screaming when she's giving birth. I get it. I'm not envious of women giving birth at all. Sorry y'all have to do that, but shouldn't have ate the apple. It's a boy because, of course, it is. This is Jesus, right? I mean, the home seemed to be at peace when he was born, and there was gifts brought to him. Checks out. Her begging him to make all the people go is yet more great symbolism. Mother Earth does not want us here destroying her, but God made the earth for us, so he won't make us leave. Then the child of God dies, but isn't dead. Okay, another one. Got it. But then Mother kills a few people. But then they absolutely kicked the shit out of her. My Lord, she got stomped. Holy God, have we ever seen a woman be brutalized? Have we ever seen a woman be brutalized on film like that? That was crazy. Great analogy of God's forgiveness being everlasting. People killed a son, and then he just immediately forgives. Yep, get it? I got a good chuckle when she fell down the stairs. I know it's supposed to be a serious, intense scene, but my God, I laughed. Like, that bitch took a tumble. And then just like it will be once mankind has pushed Mother Earth to her limit, she destroys herself and humanity is no more, and only God remains to start over again. So, yeah, good ending. Didn't like the movie. Really good, though.
There we go. I love that. You should just say that every week. I'm just kidding. All right, let's jump into our social media comments and questions. I got the gram pulled up. Up first, we got Missy Hutchinson Wall, former blood donor. We really appreciate you, Missy. Hope you're doing well. And all she said was, I just can't with this movie with ... I get it. Making X2 commented, I saw this film in the theater. I bet that was an experience. About a third of the way through, the whole audience kept saying WTF until J-Law burnt to a crisp. Darren Aronofsky is one of my favorite directors, but he let his pretentiousness get the best of him.
Oh, wow.
Okay. All right, and last comment we got is from Jordan Zeger. If you had to explain this movie beginning to end to someone who has never seen it before in order to save your life, would you survive with the laughing emoji?
Yes. Read the Bible.
Yeah, exactly. That was easy.
I think I could. I think I think I would try to like Rosemary's Baby meets the Bible meets. Yeah, Rosemary's Baby meets the Bible. There you go.
You know that
Mike's like, get out of my house.
Yeah, that. Get the fuck out of my house. That's a nice house too, by the way.
Just
you know
Like,
that
shit.
you know that still of that show. I think his name is Charlie Heaton, where he's like in the office stuff and he's like pointing at the wall, with the pen and all that. Like that would be
Charlie
me.
Day. Charlie Day.
Charlie Day, not Charlie Heaton.
Yeah, Charlie
I
Day
thought of
from
the third film.
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is what that's from. Yeah,
Yeah, that one would look stressed the hell out. That would be me.
that's a funny episode. He's connecting dots conspiracy. That's a good episode.
I thought of the third film. If you took Rosemary's Baby, mix it with the Bible, and sprinkled in a little Inconvenient Truth by Al Gore, because there's some climate change commentary in there. That's the way I would describe this film.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, Darren made this movie about climate change. Like if you listen to his interview with William
Yeah, he
Friedkin,
says
that's what it's about.
Yeah, I
He
get
says
that.
that.
I get that, but you can't say it's about climate change and all that, and then put so many obviously blatant references to Christianity, to religion. You can't.
Honestly, I think he's mocking Christianity. I don't think he believes in this stuff.
Probably not.
I don't get that. Like you said, I just don't see this being straight about climate change. Like to me, it's not.
Well, I listened to his interview and he said he was on like the board of directors of some climate group. And
That's fine.
I'm not going to get political, but let's just say he gets political in this. I'll just leave it at that.
I don't believe that even he believes the shit that comes out of his mouth sometimes, because you can say it's about that and he can say this is mocking Christianity, but as a Christian, I didn't take this as mocking Christianity at all. Like
That's me saying that. He didn't say that. That's that's my interpretation. I think he's hating on the Bible.
This is like if Film Bros wrote the Cliff Notes to the Bible. That's what this movie is. But I've got X pulled up, the artist formerly known as Twitter. We have 2 comments. One's from Andrew Ferguson. Said, I'll rewatch the Found Fix recap to refresh my memory, but when I first saw it, I thought to myself, well, that was dumb. And then Dana Tucker said, it's going to be awesome to listen to. Deep movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's funny. That reminds me of The Happening, I guess, because I like The Happening, but so many people did that exact same thing. We're just like, wow, that was dumb at the end, just because.
Shout out Mark Wahlberg.
Shout him out. I only have one from Facebook. Amber George, Facebook top fan, said, a lot was going on in this movie.
That is true.
Very true.
All right.
That's it.
She's not wrong. There is a lot of fucking going on in this movie. Just like there's a lot of people in my motherfucking house. Anyway.
Y'all got fun facts?
I got a couple. So this one, you guys correct me if this is incorrect, because I've never heard this. Paramount canceled the upcoming Friday the 13th film in order to go ahead with this film. Is that true?
So I read that, but I don't see how because of the date. It said like the date of this was what, 2018? Is that when this came out?
2017, 2019?
Yeah.
He started filming in 2016.
So
yeah, but it was 2009 is when the last Friday the 13th came about. Like, wasn't it in litigation at that point?
Okay,
like,
that's what I meant. Like, obviously it was in 2009 that they're talking about there. So what was there a canceled one that we didn't know about?
Well, remember we talked about it being like a frozen one, like in ice and snow, but they were talking about. But this was so far after that, I just don't see how it wasn't already in litigation by that point.
So the fun thing about IMDb is that you can go on there if you have an account and make your own fun facts. And so a lot of these, some of them aren't verified. I haven't found anything else about that one. But another one I have is the U.S. box office on the opening weekend, which I'll let Mike touch on that. If he doesn't say that opening number, then I'll come back to it. But that opening weekend was Jennifer Lawrence's worst wide release opening ever.
You can do that number.
7.5 million opening weekend.
Ouch.
Yeah. Ouch. And then the only other one I have is, Darren Aronofsky. He also wrote and directed Requiem for a Dream, which Shooter McGavin himself, Christopher McDonald, was in.
Nice.
And he was in Once Upon a Time in Venice with David Arquette.
Shooter. Yeah, shooter.
Fired, huh? Well, you're fired.
The film received both boos and a standing ovation during its premiere at the Venice Film Festival. Okay. Originally titled Day 6, which was meant to be a title that references the biblical account of God creating the earth and the universe in Day 7. And the film's events would be an allegory for the sixth day in God's creation of the world. So where's climate change in that? Like, it seems to me like even the title was talking about the creation of God, or God's creation of the world. But okay.
All right. This movie was made for $30 million, which sounds like a really high budget for this movie. But anyway, and then grossed $44 million worldwide.
Wow.
So not bad. Not bad.
It's all them extras.
I guess so.
And the water bill after the sink broke. All right, guys, let's jump to our favorite kill, least favorite kill, and the rating. I'll just kick us off. Let's just get this going.
I just cross-referenced AI with IMDb. Buddy, fuck AI. They're very wrong. Mother grossed $17.8 million in the United States. And, that ends up being 44. Fuck me.
And also,
I just realized what it made the rest of the world. Sorry. Go ahead.
Also, don't you ever fix your mouth to say fuck AI. Allen Iverson is like my favorite basketball player of all time.
Buddy, I got a funny story to tell you about AI when we're done recording. Really funny story.
All right.
Go fuck myself. That's what I'll do.
All right, guys, jump to our favorite kill, least favorite kill, and the rating. I'll just kick us off. I'll be honest, guys. I didn't pick a favorite and least favorite kill in this movie just because I don't really think this movie is about the kills per se. This movie, man, is just, I don't know. It's captivating to me from start to end, from Jennifer Lawrence's performance specifically. She is so good. Like, I can't give her enough credit. Like, I know, and I read too, like she tore her diaphragm during the filming of this. I saw where she took a year off just because this movie was so taxing on her. Big props to her. Like, she did phenomenal. I'm a big Darren Aronofsky fan of his movies. I think he makes very unique, like, thought-provoking films, and I appreciate that. You know, me and Dustin talked about this last night during our Substance review, and you touched on the fun fact, Brian, where, like, the movie received boos and claps, and he appreciates that because he wants to make movies that get a reaction out of people. My fellow co-hosts have spent the last hour and 20 minutes talking about the symbolism. I'm not going to beat that to death just because, you know, it's 11:33 p.m. Eastern and we're all tired. I'm a big fan of this movie. I think it's one you have to see at least once to appreciate. You might hate it, but you might love it. I'm going to give it a 9.5 just because it's not rewatchable. I'm going to knock 0.5 off of it.
Okay. Let me go ahead and knock mine out then. I do have a favorite kill and least favorite kill. Favorite kill is Abel, or that son that died. I really liked how that story was represented in this movie. My least favorite kill, 8 pounds, 6 ounce baby Jesus, if that's who he was supposed to be. Don't even know a word yet. Still omnipotent. I don't know. I just wanted to use that quote from Talladega Nights. As far as my final thoughts, I don't know, man. I can't say I like it. I've seen it twice now and really don't plan to ever watch it again. It's well made, and I love all the metaphors. Darren Aronofsky has such a unique way of making movies that I definitely appreciate them. All that being said, I give it a 7.
All right, I'll go ahead and go really quick. Don't have a favorite or least favorite kill. Obviously, the baby would be obvious choice for least favorite kill. As everything I said, look, I still don't know exactly how I feel about the movie, but it is well made. I think it's really, really well written. Acting, I think the A-list cast, to be honest with you, I think everyone involved is really good. So tense-filled. It's suspenseful. It's anxiety-inducing. And I do think they do a really good job of telling these stories from the Bible while also being able to layer in an interesting story if you didn't know that's what they were saying. I do think there's enough here on its own to be like, what the hell did I just watch? That was crazy. And still keep someone's interest. So I think it's, I guess me and Dustin are in the same boat. Really good movie. Not 100% sure I like the movie, but I respect it for being made, for doing something completely out of the box, completely different, completely thought-provoking. I gave this movie a 6.75.
Some would say we're in this together.
Hey-o.
Nobody would say that.
Some would.
Favorite kill, Riot Officer. Least favorite kill, Jesus Baby. There's so much to this, so much symbolization. It's almost every single line spoken that's meaning or symbolizing something. I encourage you to do some more research on it because there's so much more that we couldn't really even discuss or point out here. This episode would be 3 hours long. You know what we did need, though? We needed Poison Ivy from Batman, Mother Earth. I needed Deadpool 3 type cameo here from Uma Thurman. Anyway, fantastic film. I'm very glad I watched it. I'm actually going to give it a 9.75. I'm not going to go quite 10 because once you see the movie and then watch it again and go, okay, well, that means that and that means that. Then I completely agree. Its rewatchability to me goes way down because you've kind of seen it all. But anyway, 9.75.
All right. That gives us a composite score of 8.25. Internet Movie Database has it at a 6.6. Rotten Tomatoes has it at a 68%. So it's very rare that a movie's like that aligned in the fan score and the critic score. So that's crazy. And Mike was the closest to those of us four. Nice.
Hell yeah, I'm glad Brian liked it. I didn't know if you would or not, to be honest with you. So I'm
Brian,
happy.
you never cease to amaze me. I thought you would hate this movie, to be honest with you.
I kind of was optimistic because it was religious. Like I know, like he has similar. Like I know he knows about the religion. So I was optimistic. Let's just leave it at that.
Like I said, it reminded me of As Above, So Below, where it's like that symbolism and stuff. It was really, I don't know, it was deep. I loved it.
I'm going to shout out our blood donors, and Dustin, you can announce your pick for next week. I know Brian's excited for it. Blood donors, we really appreciate y'all. Legendary blood donor Dana Tucker 3 times. We still got 2 reviews to do. Camper level reoccurring Nina, the Horror Movie Crew podcast, Alex Seligson, Steve Schmidt, and Michelle Mirza. Camp Council reoccurring Edwin Hernandez Gunn, Joe Swinford, Adrian Aiello, Brian Samick, Andrew Ferguson, Brooke Maley, Thorne David Phillips, Heather Superdoc, Jennifer Davis from the Too Close to Home podcast, Dana Tucker, Cole McAlexander, and Max K. Really appreciate y'all. Y'all take a big burden off us. We really appreciate it. It means a lot. Dustin, you want to announce your pick as we conclude September month?
You damn right I want to announce it. So
do you remember?
I did the A24 watch through. I picked A24 month. We all had to do an A24 movie. And then when Mike announced his theme, I was like, I wonder. And it turns out that today, as we record this, September 19th, 10 years ago, 2014, Kevin Smith graced us with just an absolute classic. Justin Long, Haley Joel Osment, and the great Johnny Depp. I'm talking about Tusk. Yes. And spoiler alert, there's more A24 in the works for our upcoming months from this guy right here. My next 2 picks are A24. Shout out to that fantastic studio. And I know that Brian's sitting there like, oh, wake me up when September ends. But no, you can't escape A24.
My November pick is an A24 movie too.
Damn right.
I will not be surprising you next week.
We know, buddy. That's what makes it fun for us.
We appreciate y'all listening. We hope y'all enjoyed this episode. This was a longer episode, deep dive, but I had a good time. Hope y'all did too. Appreciate y'all listening. Have a good one.
Jason X.
Support cinema.
All right. End this shit. I'm tired. I'm ready to go to bed.
Just want to remind everybody.